We can now speak to Salim Oweis, who's a communication officer at UNICEF Middle East and North Africa Regional Offices, joining us from Amman. Salim Oweis, welcome back to Al Jazeera. I know that you were recently in Gaza. First of all, as you reflect on your trip there, just describe to us what you saw and what's the message that you'd like to send out?
Well, thank you. First and foremost, it's just the idea that the screen, although very helpful to have a peek into what's happening, is not reflecting the reality. The reality is much worse. What we don't see on the screens is the depth of the destruction, depth of the suffering of people, and daily struggle for the basics of basics. So really, the situation there is dire, and where I was based is Deir el-Balah. I was around in Khan Younis and to the north of Gaza. And to be honest, the more you move, the more suffering you see and the more destruction you see. So the situation is really beyond description.
And we have, of course, been reporting on the attack on the school that took place on Saturday, a massacre as being described by some. I know that UNICEF says that in the last 10 months, more than 50% of schools used as shelters have been directly hit by the Israelis. What is the impact of that? What impact is that having on children and families?
Well, it's devastating. Those schools are not schools anymore. They are the very basic shelter for so many families. And we've seen, unfortunately, in the last 10 months, so many of those attacks on schools, on hospitals, on civilian infrastructure that children and families rely on, which makes life even more miserable than it is now. People have nowhere to go, and attacking the very place that they use as a shelter, as a safe place, is really horrible and horrific. What we're seeing, the images that we're seeing on the media and the reports are just unreasonable and can't be justified. It's really horrendous and just gives people another reason to be afraid, another reason to be suffering, and they don't need that anymore. They need a ceasefire now. They need a stop for all the violence that's happening, because they really don't have any place to go, and they really don't have any resources to take from to continue their lives.
And for you as an organization, how are you able to meet the humanitarian needs of people there? Because we hear over and over again that the humanitarian needs are immense, but we also know that limitations are placed on international organizations such as yours. So what are those limitations and how do you go about them?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, all the efforts that are on the ground, and they're amazing, all the agencies, all the NGOs that are working on the ground are working with all they got. But unfortunately, what we got is really minimal compared to the needs. What aid we can get in is very minimal. It's very scarce and restricted. Only in the past a few months, since April to July, there was a drop of over 45% in the aid entry into the strip. But also the problem is with this continued violence, this continued attacks, it's really hard to get that aid around Gaza. And that's what we've been vocal about, and we will continue to be vocal about. Humanitarians need a guarantee to their safety and security to be able to deliver the aid, as much as civilians need the guarantees that they can approach those places where services and aid is provided to get it. Unfortunately, on the ground, that's not the reality. We're struggling to get even the basics of needs of aid to get in, whether it's hygiene kits, whether it's water supplies, tents, anything really is really scarce, and we can't get it as much as we want to.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Salim Oweis, thank you so much for joining us from Amman in Jordan.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.